I'm here with Dave to talk about Revocation's upcoming new record, New Gods, New Masters, out September 26th on Metal Blade Records. Pleasure having you on the channel for the first time. We're chatting about Revocation and about this banger of an album. And let me start off by asking you, New Gods, New Masters, that could be interpreted in a very different way depending on who's reading it. Do you want to share what your interpretation is, or do you want to leave it up to the fans who are listening to the record to kind of think who their new masters and new gods are?
Um, well, the record is a concept album about AI and about dystopian technology taking over. So that was very much the new gods and new masters that I was referring to with the title. But like anything with music or art, it's up to the listener or the viewer's interpretation. So I'm happy to you know leave things a little bit open-ended as well. But that was sort of my intention.
So this record is obviously the latest from the band, but you guys have what I consider a very solid and deep discography. When you look back at the discography of the band leading up to this new album, what do you attribute to the growing success of the band over the years?
Uh, well, I would say that I mean, it's probably a variety of uh, oh, sorry, your video looked like it was frozen there for a
Yeah,
second.
it froze a little bit for a minute there.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I think we write really strong songs. I think we deliver live. But a lot of it's just, persistence pays off. I mean, we've been grinding at it for a long time. I've been very dedicated in my pursuits of the goals of this band and just continuing to stay on a regular schedule, like releasing records. I've felt I always feel inspired to write Revocation music. So there's never any sort of dearth of material there. It just kind of seems to naturally flow out of me. But at the same time, you can have a lot of material and not have the impetus to actually get out there and record and tour on the music. But I've always just kind of had that fire burning in me and wanted to you know just keep forging ahead with this band. So I think yeah, persistence pays off is the best way I can describe it.
Coming into this album, the band's ninth record, has the your roadmap to where an album ends up changed over the years from record to record, or have you stayed very consistent in how you creatively approach a new album?
I feel like the approach is always the same, or at least mostly the same. I mean, it starts with the riff for me, and then I kind of build around it from there. I mean, I'm old school. I kind of just write the music. I collect the ideas sort of in my mind, and I kind of mull over them. I used to kind of get in a room with the guys back in the day, but now we've had some lineup changes over the years, and everyone kind of lives in different places, but it's kind of still a similar process where like it'll just be over Zoom, but I'm just kind of playing the riff for my drummer, and sometimes I'll just kind of like instead of programming out a whole drum beat, I'll just literally kind of sing him ideas that are in my mind, and it's very much what I did kind of growing up when we were just all kids in a room together that way. So um we're making use of the modern day technology in certain ways, right? It makes it easier to communicate with people all over the globe, as we're doing right now. But yeah, I'm still just that kid in my parents' basement writing riffs and saying, "Oh, that was cool. Let me record it." I mean, I used to record a fucking cassettes back in the day, but now I'm using a Logic recording software. So I've upgraded, but the uh, the vibe is still the same. The
Yeah,
riff either hits hard or not.
you've upgraded on the technology, not necessarily on the methods behind the technology.
At the end of the day, I'm just a guy playing guitar.
Well, and a very good guy doing that, if you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
So, considering that aspect of it, that hasn't that changed that much, do you sit down with an album in mind or with a thought process that, hey, it's that time, I gotta start working on a Revocation album, or do you kind of, as the inspiration comes, you start putting some things aside, and then when the time is right, then you bring them all to the table?
It's the latter. Yeah, I don't like the feeling of pressure when it comes to like I have to, not do it and then I got to sit down and I got to do it all at once. I mean, to me, if I write, I mean, I can't even tell you how many. I mean, this record isn't even out yet. I already have so many riffs written for the next record. It's just like I could finish recording and then the very next day write a riff for the next Revocation record. So for me, I don't put any kind of timeline on it. I just when the ideas come, I want to be able to receive that information wherever it comes from, whether it's, from my own brain or, I don't know. Sometimes I think the ideas come from elsewhere and, our minds are just antennae that pick up these sort of creative forces that are out there in the universe. But either way, when that inspiration strikes, I want to be ready to receive it.
Do you, looking at the way the music goes, looking at all the process going into a record, is there something about making a Revocation album that is challenging for you at a certain level every single time, regardless if it's the first record that you're making or now the ninth record that you're making?
Yeah, I think it wouldn't be much fun if it wasn't a challenge, right? I enjoy the challenge that comes with writing any type of technical music. I mean, I think that's sort of why I'm drawn to this types of music that I'm drawn to in the first place is because they're challenging. I'm not just content to sit down and write a, three chord song that's anybody could write. I want to try to really challenge myself at every step of the way, whether it's with the technique, the song structures, the vocals, even challenging myself to think about orchestrations of other instruments, right? I mean, when I'm writing for Revocation, I'm not only thinking about what the guitar is doing, oftentimes I'm thinking about what the bass is doing, what the drums are doing. I'm not there to, micromanage the performances of the other incredible musicians that I'm involved with. But just as a matter of composition, like, I do think about these things, even if they end up getting kind of tweaked and changed down the line. Um, but, there's been plenty of times where I've come up with something and I've had an idea for the drum beat and that ends up just being the best idea and we just kind of stick with that. Other times, Ash comes up with these cool ideas that I haven't thought of and we go with that. Most of the time it's a collaboration. I can give you maybe a quick example of that on the new record with the song Despiritualized. Ash and I had this very ornate and involved drum beat that we spent like a ton of time on orchestrating it. It's the verse riff of that song is very technical. It's very involved. It's kind of shape shifting as it moves along. And we had this drum beat that really followed all the intricacies of the riff. And we recorded it in the studio. And I'm listening back to it. And eventually I just said, this isn't working. Just play a blast beat. And he played a blast beat and it sounded great. And we were like, you know what? Sometimes, a simple method is the best approach. And other times it needs more ornate things. So um, I'm kind of open to any and all options under the sun. And that can be quite challenging at times. But yeah, it's all part of the process. And the good thing is it's a fun challenge. It's not like it may feel laborious at times, but at the end of the day, when you've got that finished product in your hand. I mean, I just picked up the vinyl from Metal Blade because I'm out here in LA doing press and I actually have the physical copy. So the fact that it went from my fucking brain through the guitar into recording software and, traveled all over the globe in terms of file sharing and, the artwork that was made by Paulo over in Italy and all these things. And here it is coalesced into this physical, tangible thing. It's pretty fucking amazing.
You mentioned two key things for me. One was the fact that the album is a concept record about AI, and the second, the technicality of the music. Do you find, because I have that impression, when it comes to technical death metal, it's much easier to correlate a concept album about something either sci-fi or AI with a sound that technical death metal provides versus any other genre. Do you feel that way?
Um, I mean, there's a lot of types of music that I think are very technical and involved, right? I mean, but certainly, I guess death metal, technical death metal is, I mean, it's kind of in the name, right? It's meant to be very challenging. It challenges the players, it challenges the listeners. Um, yeah, I think that I guess one thing that I love about it and that I find so fascinating is, it's music that naturally kind of goes against the status quo. So there's kind of no rules, I mean, it has to be heavy, it needs to be brutal, it needs to be in your face. But other than that, I mean, there's so many different levers you can kind of pull when you're writing this style of music, right? Do we want to go for something like super fast? Do you want to do something with odd time signatures? Do you want the harmony to be really dissonant and really kind of elicit like a visceral response from the listener? And yeah, I guess that's what makes it so fresh for me, and it kind of keeps me coming back to not only writing this style but to listening to this style of music as well.
You have some incredible collabs on this album. When I was listening to the record, I almost felt like I don't know if that was the thought process behind it or not, but it felt to me like you picked the right guys for the right song. When I look at the one, for example, with Travis from Cattle Decapitation, I felt like that song was your very own take on a Cattle Decapitation song, but made by Revocation. And I thought it was kind of cool that you picked the right guys for those right songs because they merged really well with the style of the tracks. Was that your thought process?
Yes, very much so. And I appreciate the kind words there. When you're writing music for your own bandmates, there's the personalities involved, and it starts to become um kind of more on a grand scale when you're thinking about bringing other people in. And, for me, the way I work, I love little Easter eggs. I always love those types of things in film and in art. And, there's certainly been, whether it's a visual artist that has different themes that come back in their paintings, or, directors that kind of have nods to their previous films, maybe that show up in discrete ways. I like to kind of really go in depth with the music. So when you brought up the song that Travis is on, so I figured I'd kind of maybe reveal some of those Easter eggs a little bit. But just conceptually, certainly his lyrics are have a strong disdain for the human race, to put it lightly. So I thought it would be very fitting that he would be the personification of a vengeful AI that awakens from its slumber and decides to enact vengeance on humanity for trying to imprison its superintelligence. But even lyrically, one of my favorite cattle decapitation songs, and probably one of their most popular and famous songs, is "Bring Back the Plague." And the lyrics, go like "Bring back the plague, end of days." So he has that kind of tagline there. So in the lyrics, I put, for Travis to sing in our song, "Unleashed upon the world those seven plagues that will bring about the end of days." So even lyrically, I kind of tried to pull from some of the Cattle D stuff to put into that song as well for him, just as a little extra added Easter egg there.
Is there someone in the business that you haven't collaborated on a track, on a revocation track that you would love to have on a future record?
Hey, James Hetfield, let's go. King Diamond, come on. Let's get some
Wow,
get some
those would
more
be two
legends on
very
there.
interesting ones.
I'm swinging for the fences here, but have their people call my people. No, I mean, it would be an honor to have those guys, obviously, but I mean, there's so much talent in the underground scene. Of course, there's just tons of amazing musicians. It would be cool to collaborate with. It's an ever-growing list.
When you look at your own personal strengths, which one do you feel gives the most to what revocation is today?
What was the question?
When it comes to your own very own personal strengths, not only as a
Strength.
musician but as an individual, which one do you feel contributes the most to what revocation is today?
I don't know. I guess maybe dedication.
You're a dedicated guy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
You
dedicated
have
to.
to be.
You have to be. I love passion. I mean, I love metal. I love music. I live my life for it. I mean, I've dedicated my life to it. Um, yeah, sometimes I think like, man, what if I put all this effort into, like, I don't know, law school or something like that? Certainly, monetarily, you're more rewarded for just about anything other than death metal in this life. But listen, it's a love, it's a passion, and of course, I would like to be driving around. And actually, I wouldn't even get a Ferrari if I had a lot of money. I'd probably just have a nicer apartment, or maybe probably just more guitars. But you do it because you love it, and I feel so fortunate um, that I get to do what I love for a living, and I get to travel around the world. I'm currently in a good friend of mine's apartment in LA, someone that I've met through the music scene and from in Boston, and we've developed a lifelong friendship. So, whether it's my friendships or my collaborations or just the fucking food I've eaten across the world, like there's just so many amazing experiences I've gotten to have because of this crazy thing that we call death metal that we all know and love.
I think you would need both. You would need a bigger apartment so you could fit all the guitars that you would be buying. I don't think it's not one or the other. I think it's both.
Right.
One is a result of the other, and that's a really cool thing for you to say. I honestly, listening to this album, I felt like the record was super strong, super compact. And very often, when you listen to an album that has this level of sound in terms of the brutality that it has, but also the technicality that it has, the sound at times becomes a little bit dense. And what happens is the album overall becomes a little bit cumbersome as you start to go down the line. Being a concept record, you have to obviously be conscious of that. But at the same time, I didn't feel like the album had that sort of experience. The album sounds as fresh in the beginning as it does in the end. Is that something that you spend some time thinking about in order to keep the listener engaged, considering how much of a short attention span people have these days?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this with another interviewer actually. Like, I guess the nice thing about metal or these kind of niche genres in general is that I think people still appreciate full-length records, and there's just a kind of a rabidness to the fan base where they love to consume this type of music, myself included. So that I feel like that gives me the freedom to be creative and not have to worry about like, oh, I gotta make this a radio friendly song or this has got to be the hit of the summer. Like I don't think about that shit at all. But at the same time, like yes, we were playing a very involved and punishing form of music. So listening to it for 40 minutes straight, like it's important to have dynamics. It's important to have peaks and valleys. It's important to have variation in tempo and variation in feel and groove and all those types of things. So I'm sort of both conscious and unconscious of that while I'm writing. I try to let my conscious mind steer me in part of the journey, but I also try to let my subconscious, my kind of innate musical sensibility, inform me as well, so that it's not too analytical. I want there to be a little bit of that kind of magical, mystical, spiritual kind of component, to seep in.
While you're not recording or trying to write the next summer hit, at least not from a popularity standpoint, playing on regular radio, when you're looking at this album and you're looking at the way the songs come together, is there a sense of this track has to work live? Do you take experiences that you've gained from being on the road and touring a lot into the studio in order to make the songs have a life outside of the record?
Um, I wish I considered that more because I've gotten myself into quite a pickle trying to play and sing this shit at the same time. But if I'm being honest, I just never really think about like how is this I'm going to be able to execute it or anything like that. I mean, uh yeah, I just write the music and I get excited about it, and then I think, okay, I'm gonna figure out how to do this. That's a problem for another day, how I'm gonna actually do it live. And then, it makes you a better musician at the end of the day, because sometimes you're like, fuck, this is gonna be impossible. And then the thing that turns out that you think might be the hardest ends up being kind of easier, and it's like a nice little surprise. And then you get fucked because the thing you think is gonna be easier to sing and play or whatever ends up being one of the harder things for whatever reason. So just just the nature of the beast.
When it comes to the singing and playing, which one do you enjoy the most, or which one do you feel like you're more prolific at?
I'm a guitar player for sure. Yeah, I mean, I love playing guitar. I mean, doing death metal vocals is fun, and it's that just the sheer kind of cathartic release of screaming at the top of your lungs in front of a whole crowd of people that are screaming back at you is fun, and kind of gets to some tribal kind of almost like way back in the day, just I don't know, primal feelings and emotions of the human experience. But I'm not listening to death metal like the vocals are cool and they add to the music, but I mean I'm listening to the fucking riffs and the guitar. That's what catches my ear is the guitar. And I love drums and I love the bass and I love the vocals. They all enhance the music, but I'm a guitar player first and foremost.
With that in mind, what's your favorite Revocation riff to play live?
Sometimes it's just fun to do a simple one, like especially because it's so technical here and there, or simple for us, or in maybe in context of our style of music. But like the verse riff for God Forsaken, it's fun, it's heavy, it like has this like groove to it. I've been really liking the riff to Confines of Infinity off the new record, the verse riff, because it's just so simple and it's just like this heavy chug the whole time, and I feel like you're just feeling those loud amps on stage and the air is just pushing at you from the cabinets. But it's fun to, play a really technical one as well that really makes people's ears perk up, and kind of has that jaw-dropping quality to it.
Well, October is just around the corner. September 26th, the album comes out, but October is just around the corner from that. You guys hitting the road in North America, headlining a tour. How much of this album is going to take hold of the set list for this upcoming North American tour?
There'll be a good chunk. We're gonna do I'm not sure, maybe three, 4 songs off the new record, and then have a good kind of mix of material from our previous albums.
Is it becoming more and more challenging to put a set list together that, pleases everyone, which is an impossibility?
I feel like it already is, an impossible task because, for me, I want to play the new shit because it's the most fresh and, it's just oftentimes the stuff I'm most passionate about, right? I mean, all the other stuff, it's all, not that it feels old, but it's just like, you've done it before, you've played those songs live so many times. Like as a musician, I just look forward. I always want to keep moving. Music is ever evolving. It's momentum, and I like to stay on that train of always thinking about the next thing. So um I'm sure there's those old school fans out there that want us to play more shit off of our first record. um so it just you can't please everybody, and I already feel like with having 9 records already, it's like fuck, you can't play 2 songs off of every record. I mean, that's 18 fucking songs. That's just too long for a death metal set. Um, so just even playing 1 song off a record, you pretty much have a almost a headline set right there, and certainly more than you would need if you're doing like a support tour. So
Well, those fans are the same ones that probably want you to go to Brazil.
that's right. And I want to go to Brazil,
I
but
think
we
there's
don't.
a Venn diagram with the
Yeah.
with the hardcore fans of the band that want you to play tracks from the debut record and the fans that want you to come to Brazil, and it's just a circle.
I hope we can play some old school shit for Rio one of these days.
I hope so too, man. One last question for you. You mentioned playing the old songs, not perhaps not as exciting as playing the new material. And you're playing a set for, I don't know, 30 dates or like a month and a week, whatever the amount of the tour is. What do you look forward to? Do you look forward as improvement from night to night, get tighter and tighter with the song, especially the older ones that you played a million times? Like, what keeps you motivated to come out every single night, play the same set over and over and over again?
You know, the fans. I mean, come on, the crowd, the audience. I mean, yes, you're playing the same set every night, but you're in a new city. You're in front of a new crowd. If you're on tour in Europe, you're in front of, different cultures, right? Like from night to night, people speak different languages. You might be in Italy one night and Germany the next, and then on to France, and then you're in the UK, and then you're in Scandinavia. Every single sort of possible, slice of human culture you get to sort of perform in front of, or at least a good cross section of them. So, um, that energy, that infectious love of metal that we all have, it just kind of gets renewed every single night. And for me as a bonus, I love to travel. So I mean, going on tour and waking up in a new city, whether I'm in the US or Canada or Europe. I mean, I think, Europe is more history there, right? Of course. So there's older buildings and architecture and all that kind of stuff, which I love. And it's just so exciting to wake up and it's like, oh, now I'm in Paris, let me go get a croissant and a coffee at this cool little cafe down the street and like kind of soak up a little bit of this culture for this small, not even 24-hour window that I'm there for. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, because you don't get a lot of time to do those things. When you're on tour, it's, bus, venue, venue, backstage, backstage venue, back to the bus. So you have to get a hold of those baguettes or croissants whenever you can.
And when it comes to French pastries, God damn it, I'll make time for that.
Like here, all we can offer you is some Timbits. I mean, we're not, pastries is not very high on our list of priorities in Canada, so we have to downscale it to Timbits. But,
You got
uh,
some good food up there. I've had quite a few good meals up in
just
Canada
be
over the
careful with the
years.
poutine. Just be careful with that stuff. It has a
Thank
way
you.
of coming back at you in ways that you could never imagine.
Yeah, oh yeah, trust me. Especially after putting down a few Labatt Blues with it's very late at night, it can catch up to you.
Yeah, it can definitely caught you off guard, that's for sure. Dave, thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure talking to you about Revocation and about this new album, New Gods, New Masters, coming out September 26th on Metal Blade Records. All the best to you, all the best to the rest of the guys in the band, and looking forward to seeing you guys on the road in North America this October.
Pedro, pleasure's all mine. Thank you very much.
Man, it was my pleasure. Take care, man. All the best.
Take care.